Hello, ladies. I want to share with you about the difference between loser mindset and a winner mindset. Mindset is everything in pageantry, and not just pageantry, but in any high level, high achieving experience that you have. Your mind has got to be on board if you are going to have any success at all. You see this not just in athletic competitions, but in any hard thing that we do. When I gave birth not long ago, I was like, this is hard. Like, for those of you mamas out there, you know, giving birth is not easy. And for me, it ended in a C-section. I had days of labor, and then it ended in a C-section. I know many people have experienced hard deliveries, hard births, and even harder losses. And all of these things are taxing on us emotionally. And it requires a very strong mental capacity in order to overcome the hard things that we do in our life. And I have a client who is a former member of my Win a Pageant group, and she says over and over and over, you can do hard things. And that was the thing that literally AJ's voice resounding, you can do hard things, you could do hard things, was the mantra that I had that got me through that experience of birth and delivery, which was one of the hardest things I've done. I know lots of women have done even more difficult things, overcoming cancer, overcoming the loss of loved ones, including children, having dealt with things in life that are life, right? And life is going to happen. It's going to happen. The Bible says, in this world we will have troubles, but take heed, he has overcome the world. And that essentially is saying that, look, there will be a brighter day. Tomorrow will be renewed. You will overcome this too. This too shall pass. And I believe that in pageantry, sometimes when we first get involved in pageantry, we see it as all the fun and excitement that it is. It very much is. And it's so exciting, and we get to meet all these great gals, and we get to have so much fun, and we get to take the headshots, and we get to do the dress, and we get to do all the fun stuff. And then at some point along the way, we realize this is actually challenging. This is actually making me reconsider some things. This is making me challenge my belief system. This is making me step out into a world of unknowns. This is making me put myself out there in a new vulnerable way that is allowing others to voice their opinion about me. When you are judged in a pageant, you are literally given a score from 0 to 10, in some cases 1 to 10. That a stranger in a very short interaction with you is actually judging you on a very specific score. What other industry does that? It's like, and they're judging you subjectively. It's not even like in the Olympics when they're giving you a score on your technicality, whether or not you pointed your toes and did you stick the landing, right? They're actually giving you a subjective judgment on whether or not you should be the title holder for a year. It can be very confusing. So I want to have a very real conversation with you today about how you can create for yourself a winning mindset. Now, this is going to be different than some of the other winning mindset talks that you probably have heard of in the past. What most people will tell you is about the concept of positive psychology. And I love psychology. I am not a psychologist, but because I'm an entrepreneur, I have a natural tendency to lean into psychology. And as a coach, my background is in counseling. And so all of these pieces kind of combine. I'm fascinated by psychology. In fact, in the Win a Pageant Academy, most of our strategy that you are going to be learning even through the Jumpstart is based in decision-making psychology. But in the winner's mindset, often positive psychology is what is referenced. And this is the sort of thing of blab it and grab it and name it and claim it. And it's this kind of idea that if you just know what you're visualizing out there, that it will just come into your world. And there's pieces of that, but there's huge pieces that might be missing from what those sort of ideas might unpack. And so positive psychology would tell us that when you think positively, you tend to experience things in a positive way. And that's all well and good until You get slapped with something that came out of nowhere when life happens. I'm saying this from experience. Many of you know my story. I actually, just to give you the background a bit, because many of you can probably relate to this. When I was growing up, I did okay in school and I was naturally thin, so I didn't have to work really all that hard. I'm just being honest. I was a dancer, so I had a little bit of some stage presence. I was a middle child, so I was a natural performer. So all of these things combined led me to my very first pageant, which I competed. I didn't want to win at first, but then I kind of like caught the bug. And about a week before the pageant, I was like, okay, I do want to win. And it was a little late. However, somebody had to win. I really believe I just accidentally won the thing because somebody had to win. And I had a few natural qualities. There were about 12 women competing in this local pageant. This is in the Miss America organization. Now, from there, I went on to the state pageant rather, and I was in the top 10. And I was like, wow, winning pageants is so easy. No, I was fooled. I just had a little bit of luck at the beginning, okay? So then the next year comes around, and at this point, I had not really learned how to work very hard for much. I really didn't have to discover and learn a strategy of how I really could win at a very high competitive level. So I competed sort of the same way I competed the last time, which was I just looked at what the other girls were doing and I was like, oh, I could probably do like that. Sure, here, look, I'm doing it. And I just did the same stuff. And I was just, again, just social and a natural kind of, and I won my next local pageant. I went on to the state pageant. I did not go to nationals yet. I went to the state pageant and I was first runner up. Now I was like, pressure's on. How many of you have been a first runner up before? And pressure's on, right? All of a sudden it feels like, I actually have to win this thing now. And you start feeling like, but am I good enough? And when you are faced with something in your life that you are called to, I want you to just know this right from the get-go. When you feel that you are called, like when I say called, I mean like you have this pull, like you feel a like cosmic power drawing you into the thing. It's like all of a sudden you hear all the signs. All of a sudden people start talking about it. All of a sudden when you hear a thing about it, or when you sense that this is or when you see an advertisement, or when you're like drawn to it. I truly believe that is a calling from God to the desire that he's placed in your heart. You know that the Bible says that God wants to give you the desires of your heart. I truly believe that God put them there when he knit you together in your mother's womb, that they're his desires for you. And so some of us are approaching pageantry like,
well, if I don't win, it's fine if I don't. It's just for fun anyway.
But God is saying, stop it. I have a call on your life. I am drawing you into a thing that is for you. It is meant for you. And you feel that call, but you might not really be answering it. And there's lots of reasons why we might not be answering it. Today, I'm going to talk about what I now fondly refer to as the loser mindset. This was not something that I knew I had even developed. I had been in pageantry for a few years. I was first runner up that one time. I ended up coming back. I was first runner up again in a different state. I was first runner up again. I was first runner up in like four pageants across multiple states in I think 3 or 4 systems. And it at that time, it was about 7 years or so of competition that I felt like I was losing more than I was winning. And the truth was I was losing more than I was winning. Okay, like let's just be honest here. I was losing the pageant. I was not winning the pageant. Now, we could all get, like say, well, but you were winning other things. I mean, yes. But what I'm telling you is my spirit was broken. I felt like I was losing. And my mind was not able to, positive psychology, no, look for the great things about it. And you girls know, if you've been there before, when you compete, you put yourself just all out there, right? And then somebody gives you these scores, you get these score back and you are just like, oh, well, what the heck? Like, how is this even, how did I even do like this bad? Or worse, how did I do this well? And I still didn't win. Now there's all these mysteries. Now there's the thing, right? So what I found, and I've told this story to many of you before, is that whenever I I ended up going to Los Angeles and I said, I'm going to be an on-camera host. I loved doing on-camera work like this. And I was like, that was always a dream of mine. I'm going to pursue that dream. And I remember going to a boot camp with Marky Costello. She is the host trainer in LA, and she teaches all these people who go on to do incredible work. And I got to go to her boot camp. It was a small group. There were probably 10 of us in the room to do this weekend-long intensive. And I remember that she was like, you got to figure out your brand. You got to figure out your brand. We all know you do have to figure out your brand. And what she named over me, she said, well, what's something that comes up for you in your life? And I said, well, I've competed in pageants. And she's like, great, what have you won? And I was like, well, this little small pageant, I haven't really won anything. And she was like, oh. And I was like, I mean, I came close. I'm a first runner up. And she's like, that's it. And you know what this woman spoke over me? She said, you are the first runner up. That's your brand. And I was like, oh, is it? Is that my brand? Now, you girls have probably been here before, where somebody who you positioned in a higher place is like, like this is a person of authority that you're like, they're above me. I want to listen to what they say. And when somebody like that gives you something, speaks negativity over you, speaks something into you that is not from God. I know now that was not from God, but at that time, I was like, well, she does know what she's talking about. Maybe that is my brand. Maybe I'm just a forever perpetual first runner up. And you know what's interesting is that this is what the devil does. He gives you a couple truths and then a lie. And you believe the lie because it's twisted up in a bunch of truths, right? I was first runner up. That was true. I was first runner up many, 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 many times, multiple times. Many people knew I was first runner up. But was my brand the first runner up? No. That was the lie, but it got snuck in with all of the other things. I know you girls have been here before where you feel like you're meant for more. You're meant for something great, actually. And you are meant for something great. Everybody on this planet is. But what happens is we have a triggering event in our life that tends to shift us from what we thought was ours, the big vision, the possibilities, the glory that we are like, God is calling me to this thing so I can point it back to him. All of that can be just stifled in a moment when someone feeds you a lie that you believe. And that's what happened to me. I got fed this lie and I believed it. And I started feeling and acting like the first runner up, the one that was so close, but not quite good enough. So almost there, but not there. Not the winner. Nope, not the winner. The loser. And I took on that and it showed up in my life. My personal friends know that this showed up in my life in many, many ways. The thing that actually got me out of that was shifting my eyes back to Christ. That's really what it was, if I'm being fully honest. It was turning my life to say, what does God say about me? I got to forget it about what all these other people are saying about me. Oh, she's a first runner. Back then when I was competing, and I'm sure this still exists today, there were online forums that were anonymous forums where people could post about just whatever they wanted to post, just completely anonymously. And these exist, I'm sure, even today, though I do not go on them. And it was sort of the gossip of the state that I was in. And there would be people posting like, oh, who do you think's going to win? Oh, this girl looks like she's an outstanding contestant. Oh, look at so-and-so. She's had a big change this year. Oh, so-and-so lost a bunch of weight. So-and-so dyed her hair blonde this year. How's she going to do with blonde hair? And it was like all these silly things. And something was said about me that I actually at the time dismissed, but I was reminded of it years later then when this woman spoke first runner up over me. And what they said about me was, no, Alycia is always a bridesmaid, never a bride. That's like a silly saying that people say that like if you're going to help everybody else, but like it's never going to be your turn to shine. And that was what they were speaking over me. It was like, well, she's always a bridesmaid, never a bride. She'll always be first runner. She'll be in the top 5 probably all the time, but she's never gonna win. And I, at the time, was like, ew, how rude. I'd never heard of that saying before. And all of a sudden, someone was speaking it over me. I was 20-something years old. This is the kind of damage that can happen if you are not functioning from a loser mindset, renewing your mind on an ongoing basis. So what happened to me was I latched onto this loser mindset, and I was not aware of the fact that I was operating from a loser mindset. I wasn't even aware of that fact until years later. I'm now married to my incredible husband, Randy, and we were living in a new home. And in this home, it was a townhome. It was like, it had, I think, 3 levels or something, all like stacked up on each other. And my office was on the 2nd floor. And I remembered that the night before, and at this point, I had already been like going to a new church. I was like filled with the Holy Spirit. I was like doing good work for the Lord. I was like, this is after the Pageant brand had already been on and like doing really, really well. And we'd had, tons of YouTube followers, and like just things were going really well. And I didn't notice the loser mindset until this moment that I'm about to share with you. At this time, this was now maybe a couple of years ago now, just a few years ago. And we lived on a street. So we were in a townhome. Lots of homes were nearby us. And on the street where we lived was parking on both sides. And they were repaving the road. And so they told us for weeks, they left these signs up for weeks that on this day we're paving the road, all the cars need to be moved. And I ignored it because I was like, oh, it's coming up. It was like some random Thursday or something. I was like, it's coming. It's no big deal. And then the night before, I was like, oh, I'll move it in the morning. Because it's like moving your car. For those of you who know this, if you've experienced it before, like to move your car to another part of the street, and like everybody else is moving their cars too. So then you got to park like several blocks away. And like, I don't want to do that at night. And so I was like, I'll just move it in the morning. I think it'd be moved by like 7 or something. So I was like, oh, I'm up early. I'll move it in the morning. Okay. So you guys know where this is going. Morning comes. I ignore the car. I forgot all about it. I'm sitting at my computer. It's probably like 9 a.m. by now. And I'm like, just happy-go-lucky, doing my own thing. And my husband comes down the stairs from the upstairs from his office, and he's like, oh, hey, babe, did you remember to move your car? And I was like, I'm going to pause, time out, pause right here. Let me tell you what was going on in my mind, okay? Because at this point, I was happy. Everything was fine in my life. I was great. I forgot completely about the car. I wasn't even worried about being towed. It was no big deal to me. My nervous system was just fine. But as soon as he said that, what happened? Loser Alycia reared her ugly head. It was like out of nowhere, I started just beating myself down. I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot about the car. I always forget everything. Oh my gosh, I can't keep anything straight. I'm so unorganized. And all this is happening as I'm running down the stairs. I'm grabbing my keys to step outside to be like, they probably towed my car. I'm like, I'm sure that they towed my car. This, of course, this was happening to me. I don't even know how to get a towed car back. Like, there's probably all kinds of like pounds around that the people are keeping the cars. Like, I'm probably the only one that this happened to. Like, I'm going to get out here. It's probably going to they had to have towed it because they're paving the road. Like, there's no way they would have just like even put a boot on it and left a note. Like, and no one else is going to move my car because no one else has my keys. Like, this had to be me. And why didn't my husband even think about this? Like, he should have reminded me yesterday. Like, okay, all of this stuff started flooding me. The loser Alycia self-talk was so harsh. It was so mean. It was so nasty. And I did not even realize that that's probably what I'd been speaking over myself for years before getting out of it. It was like out of nowhere, all of this stuff started coming back. So I step outside, I got my keys in my hand and I'm beating myself up like, oh, of course, now I got to figure out how I'm like going to get this car back. And like, who knows how much this is going to cost me. And, and I step outside and there's my car. My car was still there. It was the only car that was parked. It was on the other side of the street that had not yet been paved. Oh, the other side was paved, but I was parked on the other side of the street. So immediately what happens next? I look for the boot because I'm like, oh, they had to put a boot on me. Oh, did they give me a ticket? All the things. And I was like, an instant sigh of relief washed over me because what I realized was that I'm a winner. I'm actually God's favorite. Like, actually, he loves me. He's actually taking me and like placing me in high places and saying he's protecting this car. He's saying, oh, we'll give them a nice person who's just going to pave the other side first. They'll go all the way down, then they'll turn. And by then, I'll wake Alycia up to me. Here, I'm going to tap Randy on the shoulder to remind him to remind her so that she'll go down and do this. And what could have, so I'm like, wow, I'm actually like loved and adored. I get in the car and I'm like, oh, great. Now I'm probably not going to find any parking. Like, I've got this meeting coming up in a half an hour. I have only 30 minutes to like find parking and then get back to the house. Like, how am I even going to find parking? Literally, I'm driving from where my car was parked. It was parked like maybe a few parking spots down from an intersection. As I pull out, a car on that intersection, which you could park on, is leaving. And I was like, this is too easy. This is too easy. So I drive up. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so good. I just whip it around. I'm like, boop, right there, across the street. I'm back home just like this. I was like, God loves me. It was an incredible, and yes, it was such a beautiful way that God was teaching me, Alycia, stop. You are not a loser. You are not somebody that is always the bridesmaid, never a bride. No. I am taking you on a path, on a journey. All of that was meant to do the good work that you are now able to do for these thousands of women that watch Win a Pageant. That's what God was doing with me at that time. That's why I was first runner-up, so that I could compete in a bunch of systems. So that if I would have just won a national pageant right away, I probably wouldn't have kept competing in all these pageant systems. I wouldn't have had the experience that I have in so many different interview settings that I now get to. I wouldn't have been able to experience all of the highs and lows of pageant prep over and over and over and over. If I would have won my very first pageant ever, and I would have just thought that it was so easy, I wouldn't have had the mindset that I have right now. What God was doing for me in that season was for me, and He is for you too. All of the things that you've been through. But it's possible that you, like me, have a strong loser mindset that's getting in your way of a winning streak. And what I found was that when I looked back after that loser moment, that I was like, wow, I was like really being nasty to myself. And instead, what I should have done is when Randy said, oh, hey, babe, did you move your car yet? I should have said, oops, nope, let me go do that right now. And I should have casually skipped out and expected my car to be there and expected a spot to open up. Why? Because I'm on a winning streak. And that's exactly how it was. That's what happened. I wasn't, they didn't tow my car. They did. What is it in your life right now that you are speaking over yourself, all the lies of the enemy, all the lies that real people have told you, that you might even believe, because some of it's true, some of it is true. That's why you believe it. You're not a dummy. If it was just a bold-faced lie, then if I told you that my background wasn't gray, if I told you, oh, my background is green, bright green, like Irish green, you'd be like, no, that is the nuh-uh. If there was a little bit of truth mixed into it, then maybe you would believe it though, right? This is how the enemy works. And this is how loser mindset works. This is why positive psychology alone cannot battle the things that we need to battle away from loser mindset and into the winner mindset. So we know that loser mindset can come from a place of negativity being spoken over you, and not just negativity, but lies that are coded in truth. They're sneaky. They're sneaky because you're like, it does look like true. It is true. I was first runner up many, many times, but that's not who I am. Your brand, by the way, is who you are. It's your essence. It's what God designed you to be. My brand was not, oh, I'm a chronic first runner up. But as long as I held on to that, I was going to be a first runner up because it was the lie I was aligning myself with. I was in agreement with it. And it was so far from the truth. It wasn't until I disengaged from that and I started to say, you know what? I'm going to just approach things as though I can win. The first thing happened with my pageant experience, which was I actually had competed in a pageant in California where I was first runner-up. And then that's when that experience happened where that lady told me, oh, that's your brand. You're the first runner-up. And I was like, wow, gee, I am the chronic first runner-up. All of the pageants I competed in where I was first runner-up, I then aged out of the system because opportunities pass. And so I had the opportunity and then I was first runner-up and then I aged out of the system. So I aged out. There was no redemption experience for me. I couldn't say, oh, next year I'm going to go back and I'm going to win. No, I was first runner-up and then that was the end of it. This same thing happened. I was first runner-up in California and then I aged out. After that experience, I had some removed space away from pageantry. It was the healthiest thing for me. Some of you have probably had that experience too, where you used to compete and then you're like, I just need a break from this. And you take a big break and you have a completely different perspective. Maybe because your loserness is getting shook off. That is a great thing, okay? That's what happened to me. I started having successes in other areas. I was a business consultant, so I was helping fitness studios grow their business clientele. That was really, really working great. I was working with a yoga studio and a circuit training studio and a spin studio. It was growing really rapidly for each of them. I started to be able to, the things that I promised myself that I would do, I started doing. So, I went to that hosting thing. I really didn't love the whole first runner up thing. So even though in my mind, I was in agreement with it, I didn't act on it. And I didn't then have a brand because I felt like, well, I don't want the first runner up brand. And I felt like that lady was steering me wrong. So I was like, I guess I'm still kind of lost here because I didn't choose wisely who I was going to attach myself and align myself with to speak life over me. That's a word for many of you out there. Who are you aligning yourself with, right? And then what happened was I started to see some success. And I was like, you know what? If I just say I'm going to do a thing and then I actually do the thing, what would happen? And it started working. I said I was going to do the thing and I did the thing. Like I said that I was going to become an on-camera host and I ended up applying for tons and tons of jobs. I auditioned for all these crazy jobs, ended up getting one. In the most saturated market, I ended up becoming an on-camera host in Santa Monica in California, Los Angeles area. And it was an incredible experience. It was so much fun. I got to just do the on-camera work. I didn't have to do all the editing and worry about any of the other things like I was used to doing. And it was just such a great experience. And then I got a call from the pageant director, the new director of the pageant I was first runner-up in. And she said, Alycia, guess what? The national pageant has changed the rules. And now you are eligible to compete again for one more time. This is your last year. And I was like, oh boy, I've been here before. And you know what? My loser mindset wanted me to believe that I couldn't do it because I couldn't do it all those other times. So why would I even put the effort in? But my winner mindset was winning at the time. I was on a winning streak. Things were going great for me. So I was like, you know what? Yes, I would love to do this because I know opportunities pass. And so I was like, I know that I need to capitalize on this experience. And so what I ended up doing was saying yes. And I had a very short amount of time to actually make it happen. But I made it happen. I said, I'm going to take a different look at this. I'm going to actually look at what is it about all of the winners of the past? Because I'd been first runner up a lot. And so I was able to see the women that won. And of course, I stayed in touch with them because, you become friends with these women as you compete. And so I'd stayed in touch with them and I'd followed their progress. And I was like, what's different about what that girl did and what I did? Because I know it's not who I am. It's simply what I did. It's the strategy. And if she can do it, I can do it. So what is it? The 5-step game plan strategy. This is the difference maker. What I discovered was a legacy project. That is what made all of the difference. And I followed those 5 steps and guess what? I won. Why? Because of the strategy, yes. I believed that I could do the strategy and I did the strategy, but even more so because I was on a winning streak. And I realized if I'm able to function on a winning streak as though all the things that I'm going to commit myself to, I'm going to win the thing. I'm going to do it. Not because I'm going to magically just believe that it's going to fall into my lap. No, but because I trust myself enough to know that when I commit to a thing, I will be able to find the resources. I will be able to find the strategy, and I will be able to do it all in the allotted amount of time in order to win. That is the winner's mindset. The difference is not negative thinking, oh, maybe and positive thinking, oh, I know I can do it. The difference is whether or not you trust yourself. Do you trust you? Are you following through on the things that you say you want to do? If you say you want to wake up at 3:30 in the morning so that you can get that run in the dark and you can see the sunrise, are you doing it or not? Are you just saying, well, I don't know what I was thinking. That was a little early. I think we'll skip that. If you don't trust you, how do you expect the judges to be able to trust you? And if you don't trust you, you're never going to be able to create a winning streak. What I found is that if I am able to commit to a thing and to say, this is the thing that I'm going to do, and I'm going to put my all into doing this thing. I'm going to find the resources. I trust myself enough to know I can search this stuff. I can ask the right questions. I can do the work that they're asking me to do. If that girl can do it, I can do it. And when you do that, when you trust yourself and you actually start following through, you start to get on a winning streak. Now, I'm going to give you a very practical way that you can do this right now. I want you to think about the thing that you said that you were going to do. Small, something small, okay? We're going to just get on the winning streak right now. Something small. Like you're like, yeah, I was supposed to make the dentist appointment that I never made. Or, yes, I keep telling my kid that we're going to go to make those plans to go to the pool, and we still haven't gone to the pool yet because it's just too much work. Or you'll say to yourself something like, I've always wanted to try blonde hair, but I'm just so scared. What if you just tried it? What if you just did the thing? For me, it's flossing. Like, I do not have a winning streak with flossing. But every time I'm like, you know what? I'm turning over a new leaf. I'm going to start flossing. I'm going to start flossing. I'm not going to say, you know what? I'm turning over a new leaf. I'm going to start flossing and then not do it. You see the difference here? What is the thing that you can do right now to set yourself up on a winning streak? What's the thing? Do you need to finally clean your room? Do you need to take that thing to the dry cleaner that you've been putting off for forever? Do you need to sign up for that fitness class that you've been promising yourself? Do you need to call that friend? Do you need to mend a relationship? What's the thing that you know that you need to do, that you know it? And it's the thing that you're feeling like, oh, I've got 20 reasons why I can't do it. Yeah, and probably some of them are true, and probably others of them are woven into lies. What are those things? Oh, but I'm just so tired. You probably are so tired, but are you too tired to, thank you so much, put in the laundry? Are you really? Probably not. Because if you're too tired to, fill in the blank, or if you're too blank to blank, if you are too, you're making up all the excuses. Oh, I'm too heavy to be able to take photos of myself right now, to do my photo shoot. Oh, I'm too nervous to be able to sign up for the pageant. Oh, I'm too whatever to do whatever it is, the thing that you know that you are supposed to do. If you are putting it off, then how will you ever expect yourself to win? Because you'll never be able to commit yourself fully to the things you really, 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 really want. Do you see how our actions are the things that are actually causing the mindset? What you actually have control of this. You really do. And when you set yourself up on a winning streak, when you start doing the things that you say you're going to do, and you trust yourself enough to know, do I really want this, or is this something somebody else wants for me? Do I really need this, or do I really just want this thing? Is this the thing that I'm going to prioritize, or is there something else in my life that I need to do first? When you start saying yes to yourself and you start trusting yourself and you're like, you know what, tonight I'm going to floss. But then I forgot to floss. I forgot to floss. I'm such a loser. I always do that. I always say I'm going to do a thing and then I never end up doing it. Yeah, that's fine. Why did you forget? Oh, well, I need to write a note for myself. Okay, let's try again, you winner, you. Let's say I'm going to floss. And in order to make sure that I do it, because this is what winners do, I'm going to remind myself to do it. I'm going to put a Post-it note right now onto my mirror that says, tonight, Alycia, you are going to floss. And then tonight, when I see the thing and I don't do it, it's going to say, yep, you're a loser because you didn't do it. You can't even do the simple thing like flossing. But when I see the note and I do the thing, celebrate it. It's worth celebrating because that is the start of your winning streak. That is what you've got to do. That's how you get on a winning streak. So you girls got so much to do right now to create your winning streak. Thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.